Hey, people. Alphanumeric asked me about Lucifer, and I'm glad he did. I looked into it, and it wasn't hard to find information. And I'm going to show you exactly what that story about the brightest fallen angel means. So if you look up Lucifer at the wiki disambiguation, they say Lucifer is a religious figure usually associated with Satan. In astronomy, they'll tell you that Lucifer is ancient Roman name for the planet Venus. But I would think that Lucifer is the large binocular telescope owned by the Vatican. I would think that that would be probably the biggest clue, a binocular telescope called Lucifer. And so that makes me think, that decipher, to add it up. Figure the size and the angles that each eyeball's looking, is what your mind does to judge the distance, the range. And Lu is he, she, or it, and the bind too, whatever you were talking about before it. But they'll tell you here in under the Bible, Lucifer, that it's here in Isaiah 14:12 as the morning star, the shining one. And they'll tell you that it's translated in King James Version as the proper name Lucifer led to a Christian tradition of applying the name Lucifer and its associated stories to a fall from heaven to Satan. But modern scholars interpret it as the morning star, the shining one. So I'm not going to read much into this. I don't want any this information. It's a huge amount of information here. And I don't want it to affect my judgment as to what the reading, what the original writing in the Hebrew said. And so I'm not going to read into this until after. But we'll just go straight to the book and see what it says. So we're going to look at it here in Isaiah 14. It's what I do best. So if we look in this WLC, Hebrew Old Testament, it shows that the first two lines, end with this S. It was together. And then the rest of it looks like 3 through 21 are just single lines. So I always get a count on things like that. It tells me a lot. That would be 19. So when I see the number 19, it first makes me think of all this astrology. You're going to have 19 of the letters with number values here. And so what you have is you have 12 constellations and 7 planets. And when I tell you that D means to remove, and you can see that las, these 3 letters removed from the construction, they weren't used in the construction. These removed, A, S, and T. So it's in 12 here. How you have fallen from heaven, Lucifer. But Lucifer is just Hill or Eill. And so usually, when I do this, the word will be somewhere close by. So I'm going to start up here at line 9 and see if I can find it in these couple lines. But it's shall math trigs the locale for at in wake our first lick repays collide what etude share the face makes so what's call milky geis. You see that's poem, the geis and the face is reading. And so shall, S-H-A-L-L, shall, you will. It will. Shall math, M-T-H-T-R-G-Z-E. Shall math trigs the location, locale for at in wake. So when you're out there on the water, everything looks the same. It's all just a big blue plain, and you search for points that you might recognize in the distance, and they'll usually be charted, like the highest point over here. Somebody would then have that charted, and you know exactly where it's at on the map, or Camel Hump Island, to be on the map, and it's something easy to recognize. And hopefully, they have lighthouses and buoys, lit buoys out on the points. And so you math trigs. You take your compass out, and you shoot bearings on things. You eyeball and see where bearings are. Maybe you can tell this point is at 005, and so you find 005 on your compass rose here on the map, and you use your parallel bar or your square and rife. You lay your rife across 005 here, and use your parallel bar or your square and your rife, and use it to walk that line out. You lay that square against your rife. It's just a straight edge of measure. Rife is where the word rifle comes from. It means a distance. It's a measure. You switch your rife. It'll be sitting 90 degrees to the first time. I can't make that square turn on this. And then you move that square out until you could get to that point, and you just draw that line on out, and then maybe you could easily tell where this point is, and it's sitting 90, 180, 270, say it's 275, and it's going to be somewhere around there. And so this is probably about where your boat is, but you always shoot a third one. Hopefully you can find another light over here on this point, or shoot this point, and this point's out here at 87 degrees, and you come up with a line maybe like this. You shoot trigs, you shoot 3, and if they all line up perfect, how you did a real good job. And if not, well, you can figure, well, that's where you were when you started this. Put a little dot in the middle there, but that's your wake. That means that's where you were. Depends on how long it took you to get from out there on a bridge wing, shooting these, and then coming back and putting them on the chart. And so that's where you were 5 minutes ago. It's in your wake. So shall math trigs, with the 3 points that you shot. LKL, the locale for at in wake. BWAK. In wake. R first lick. Repays. Collide. Repays, collide, to come together. Collage. The collide, backwards and forwards. Collide, WT. What? Attitude. And so attitude is a position. My position is I ain't liking this, and I got a shitty attitude about it. Attitude comes from position. And so to collide, to come together, what attitude, what position. To share the fice, as in suffice, the fice. To share the fice, it is good, good enough, suffice. To make so what's called the Milky, as in Milky Way, the King's Way, the Milky Geist. So a guy wire is also a name for a stay on a ship. This is guys, they have different points on the ground, but they all come up to the same points. The guys, you see them on towers, and they hold the old mast up. It's a guy cable. It's a stay, and it's standing rigging. It's rigging that doesn't get moved around. It stays in its place, and it's to stay the boom. to keep it in place. And these are also known as guys. And so these are the guys that run at the hours. They all have names. The forward guy, the aft guy. And so this is their Geist. And on a globe, you'll see that they all attach at one spot on the top. All these guys will all meet up at the top on the mast, all in the same place. And they all meet up here on the North Pole. So these are all the guys. And so this Milky Geist tells me that he's not charting a boat course, but he's charting the stars, in the Milky Way. The kings make guys. And you can see it here in For You, the Dead, all the chief ones. And so if you looked at it again, it's in the wake, what you left behind you, in the wake of the hour first, hour, O-U-R. Most of these words that just start with a vowel, you just add a H to them, same as the Greek. The hour first, like repays, the collide, whatitude. It stirs up for you the dead. That's what's happening in the wake. It stirs up for you the dead. And then that's what happened. Everything that's in the water, is getting stirred up in your wake. But what it's talking about here, is the heavens. They're charting stars in the heavens here. And so the hour first is right here. This is Easter, and this is the date line. This is where you mark 0. And this is 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It's 1800, and you're back at 0. And so the hour first is here in Pisces. You can see it here at 0 in the first hour. The hour first is at Pisces. And everything in the wake, is dead kings. And so what's happening is this crossing is moving this way. One click every 72 years. One click. 72 years be here and here. And you keep adding this up, and it'll be a total recessive equinox. It'll go through all 12 of them. But at the time this was written, when this was all first set, was in the age of Gemini, and it was on the opposite side. And so you can figure that where it's high was low. The crosses were the same place, but they were opposite. This was Easter here at Virgo. It was down here, and it crossed back up here. And it's because the planet was tilted 45 degrees in this direction. And so the sun still stayed, the sun still traveled. We had the same behind the sun, but we had different houses of the moon. The moon was different. And when you looked up in the middle, your summer stars was different. What you see in the middle of the winter now is what you would have saw in the summer. And so the planet would have had an opposite tilt. So in the summer, you would have been looking at these stars down here in midsummer. Now the sun's here in midsummer. And so you can't see these stars because the sun's up, and at night, when the summer was here, at night we were looking at this sky in the middle of the night, and these are the stars we were looking at 14,000 years ago or so. So the reason this is all so important, if you study that old Solomonic magic, the angels are changing every hour. They're in a different place every day. And then as time goes on, the stars are moving, and they've got different angels to pray to. And that's for the people who are ism, that believed in that. But, the ones in the know knew that everything was connected with the stars. And that's why the legal all works off the astrology. All the old legal system was written for it. And everything worked off the same astrology. They wrote one astrology, and everything ran off that same astrology. And so that was changing. The angels that you call upon that time of day, it was changing, and their magic wasn't working. And so the calls you knew to yammer to kill a gas, to give lags. You kill anything that starts with an A, I read backwards, and anything after this tack, I read backwards and forwards. And so to kill a gas, you let off the gas, you slowing down, you lag behind the race. And a key means to give, L-A-G-S. The word, reads the same either way. To kill the lags. And this is how I know that ancient people spoke English, because every word works like this. To give lags, tate, E-T-A-T-E. Tate is in to dictate. The word that will stand, the whose word will stand, the tate. But it's also the tactile, T-A-T, the T-A-T-E-H-L-I-T, the tattlet. You have become weak. The one who tattled, the tattletale. Kimona, when ill names let. A kimona is a throne. That's where your word commode come from. The mob says, put him in a cement kimona, a cement throne, and throw him in a river. And so the throne, when ill names let. They're ill, they're sick. The names that it's letting off your astrology aren't working out right. And the names come because, like I say, I have the moon, everything has, 2, 3, 4 letter names. And so the names come from adding it all together. When you start seeing the long names, it's many different things added together. So the big long names in the Bible tell you, exactly what time it is. And so the calls you knew to yammer to, the calls, not all, but, the call, is to select certain ones. The way you do it is you call, hey, everything red, come here. Everything black, come here. You're calling out the colors, where your colors come from. The calls. Final M is a S. It's not an M. The calls you, Y-O-N-U, you knew. The calls you knew to yammer to say to, give lags. They're falling behind because, the astrology's changing. Give lags the tattlet, what tells it. The throne when ill names let. And then the words all. This was shall when it was the beginning. But now it's the words all junk. The words all junk. They no good anymore. You're praying to the wrong angels because the times has changed. The words all junk. Emit, come out of. The words all junk emit. Nuv lick, envy, nuv. Emitting of lick. That tick its aurum who makes sick to loo. The words all junk. Emitting of lick. A lick is when you hit a lick of your stringed instruments, a lick. But emitting of lick. Lick is to defeat. To hit a lick. A light coating or quick application. Or a short phrase or solo in jazz or popular music. Them licks. A smart blow. Old English, German. There was no such thing as Hebrew. This comes from Old English. Hebrew is the writing style, not the language. The words all junk. Emit and of lick. Emitting of lick of your stringed instruments. The emitting what coming out of lick. That tick, the tick is the clock. And this is steadily ticking. These are ticks. All these are ticks. Every one of these is 72-year ticks. Every 72 years moves 1 degree. 72-year ticks. The words all junk, emitting of lick. The tick, its aurum. The tick, its light. Its aurum to make sick. The delight to make sick. To loo. And so a loo is a toilet. And so, you know what it's saying, you know, is your magic's not working anymore. You're praying to the wrong angels and the words all junk. And it emitting of lick that tick its aurum to make sick. To loo. You know, skip to the loo, my darling. You know, it means, you know, you got to pee real bad. You doing that. I got to pee real bad. Skip to the loo. To the head, to the bathroom. And that's where you go lose whatever. Lose your lunch. Lose yesterday's lunch. And so when the times is changing you lose cipher. Lose cipher. And being that they say Lucifer's in this next line, but can't be found, you know, just 4 words away, that's probably where it's at. So here we are at the money line 12. It says, how you are fallen from heaven, Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened all on the nations. This starts with A, it reads backwards. It is to give. You know, Hawass, the Egyptologist, he would say to read the God's names. They start with the God letter. He would say read the A and then the K-I. A key, in Spanish for here. But that's how all the languages are changed, because people read in different directions. But you read this to key, you know, to give. K-I is to give. The giving hand. To give on, A-N, pull it. To give on, pull it, from Shami's Hill. Ben Rich is sharing, N-G dot. Ben Rich's sharing dot. Sharing dot Lars. Who less you're weakened, who less all from yogi is. You know, backwards and forwards. M-Y-U-G-U-I-S. From yogi, who is. From yog, who is. From jug, who is. And so that's where your word yoga comes from. And, you know, the Y is the J, the jug. And you see archaic form, Sanskrit word yoga. Yug. Other forms are yogam. You know, the M is the S, the yogis. In the yogi. Latin is the jug or jug. It's used from the word jugum, meaning yoke. You know, your jugular is your neck. It's where the yoke goes on. And if somebody's addicted to the jug, you know, that's their yoke. They work and they're slave to the jug. You know, all from jug who is. You know, you're all wearing the yoke from the jug who is. And, you know, all slaves too. And so to give on pullet from Shami's Hill. Shami's Hill, to give on pullet from Shami's Hill. You know, a pullet is a chicken. A pullet. A pullet is a chicken. And so this is the pullet, the chicken. To give on the chicken on Shami's Hill. And so Shami's Hill is the galactic. And this old ancient art is a whole bunch of plates that they put together, and they flipped them all backwards. Whoever drew all this, they drew it as if they were in the sky. And so they had to flip. That's why all the words are backwards. They had to flip it in order for it to fit up against Google's sky. This Google sky fits in the back of it, and it matches perfectly. Turn the historic down. And so this is our equatorial plane. And this is a galactic plane that they drew in there. And this is our ecliptic plane. This is where all the planets, all the planets are traveling. The sun, everything moves right around this area here. And this is the big, thick Milky Way of the galaxy. And you see when you put on how it matches up perfect. And the boat's at the bottom. And this is actually a straight line. And all these are straight lines. They're just crossing each other up. The way he had to draw it. But this is the chicken on Shami's Hill. To give on the chicken from Shami's Hill, Ben, backwards and forwards, Ben Rich sharing dot. Ben Rich sharing a dot of the morning how you are cut down. And they've been sharing a star. And then Lars. Lars derived from the Roman Laurentus. Crowned with laurel. Lars, crowned with laurel. And so this is Lars right here. The crown of laurel. La Corona, Austria. To give on the chicken from Shami's Hill. Ben Rich sharing N-G, sharing dot. So Ben Rich, that's, too much fuel. You're running rich, you're getting too much fuel, not enough air. It's more than it should be is what it means. Ben Rich, sharing dot. Lars Hules, you are weakened, Huls. Lars Hules, all from jug guys, all from yogis. So over here, less of Lars, underneath Lars, is this constellation here called El Telescope. The tele, a long way to see, to scope. If you take it off the historical, they say you used to have some bright stars here, but if you take off the historical and the infrared, you see it's got no stars in it. It's here. There's no stars. This star comes off his elbow. So 13,000 years ago in the age of Gemini, all these stars on this line, you can picture this line is straight, and this is the one that's bending. This is the sun's path. It looks like this because we're tilted. And imagine this is the one that was tilted. And so now it's above here and it's down here. All these stars was lower. This used to be, there's 45 degrees difference. You're looking at about, if you're at the equator and you look north, this is what you see in the North Star is staying here, and everything else is spinning around it. This is what we're seeing now. We're spinning, and the North Star, the tail, the little bear, is right about here. And 6,000 years ago, it was over here. And so the galactic center is this big serpent. 13,000 years ago, it was over here close to Vega. In the time of Gemini, the North Pole was here. It's what it does is cause 10, 20, 30, about 45 degrees difference. And so what we're looking at in the south now would have been 45 degrees up. So when we look at these planets coming over and these stars, we would have been looking lower. We would have been seeing these stars down here. We would have been looking at a telescope in the sky. In our summer, this is what we'd have been looking at. Everything that was lower we'd have been looking at. And the brightest star in the sky was Lucifer, the telescope. But it's not there anymore. It fell. Telescopium. And there's no bright stars in it. But what is in it, telescopium also hosts the first known visible star system with a black hole. A black hole is a collapsed star. And so it gets really, really bright before it collapses. And so Lucifer was once really, really the brightest star in the sky. That's what all the writings say. Angels are still bright even though Lucifer, the brightest angel, fell. It's from Shakespeare. And everybody knows all the ancient writings talk about Lucifer was the brightest of all the angels. And so before you say, well, no, Lucifer is the morning star of Venus, we look at that right here. They say that they thought those were wandering stars. And we can see it right here in Jude 1:13. In the waves of wild sea foaming up in their own shame, and the stars wandering. The word is planets. They knew it was planets. They weren't stupid. They had telescopes. To give on pullet, to give on the chicken from Shami's hill, been rich sharing dot, Lars, the crown of laurel, who less all from jug, from jug who is, from the yoke, all from the yoke who is. So word is that William Shakespeare, was just a mediocre actor from the middle of nowhere who was paid off by someone smarter and richer and better educated for the use of his name. And the real Shakespeare, the one who wrote the plays, was a brilliant philosopher, Francis Bacon. And so many circles also believe that he was the inspiration of King James Bible. And some believe he was the editor. And some believe he was the writer of King James Bible. But when a river goes forth from Eden to water the paradise, what's actually happened is the parties in ton, the parodies on. Ton is fashionable or style. To style something, to fashion, to attach it. The potties, something you pee in to fashion the parodies on. And take a guess why this guy is smiling so wide to be carrying a pot full of piss around. He's one of the more respected people in Rome. He's what you call a pot he carry. A person prepared and sold medicine and drugs. And when the disciples saw Jesus walking on the sea, saying that it was Phantasm. Phantasm, a figment of the imagination. So yeah, best chances are it wasn't William Shakespeare that edited the Bible. It was Bacon. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.